Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am indeed Captain Logan. Joining me tonight, as always, is my chat moderator and producer, Danny Nixon.
Hola, everybody from Tejas. I don't know why I'm doing the Peggy Hill version of Spanish, but
I was going to say, the all-Spanish Captain Logan show would be me saying hola one time and possibly, I don't know, gracias or something. Maybe I'll use numbers. That's about the extent of my Spanish knowledge.
¿Cómo se dice Batman?
My dad, well, you probably hear a lot more Spanish than I do around your parts, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. The company I work for has a heavy Hispanic employee population, I guess is how you could say that.
Sure, so, yeah. But anyway, you know, at one time I worked at a place where I considered learning Spanish because 70% of the clientele that walked in there were Spanish-speaking people, and I didn't speak it.
Yeah.
And no one there spoke it. We didn't have anybody in the company. We finally got one guy, and he was able to work 15 hours a week. It was terrible.
So, yeah, a lot of the grocery stores I've worked at, obviously, they want to make it a point to hire somebody who is bilingual. Especially in Texas, and it's not too hard to find someone who's bilingual. But they'd always it's like a consistent thing. They'd always have someone on, at each shift that could speak, both Spanish and English to help translate in the event that there was someone who came in who just didn't speak English fluently. So.
Well, and more you'll hear people say, and I think this is true. Become bilingual, and learning any other language is probably going to be helpful and make it easier for you to find work, but especially if you know Spanish. I think immediately that increases your possibilities for employment by double, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
With whatever field it is you're in.
As someone who took Spanish every year up through 10th grade, I am deeply embarrassed by my lack of actual working knowledge of how to speak or read Spanish.
Are you like me, where I have just never been good with vocabulary? I can't keep it in my head. It being, a lot of people know this. I went to school for English and creative writing, and I'm an English guy, and so I never had trouble. I took German for 2 years, and I never had any difficulty learning grammar and syntax. It was I could learn how to diagram a sentence in German. I couldn't remember vocabulary. I was terrible at it. Verb conjugation, no problem, if I knew the verb in the first place.
That's so every year in elementary and middle school, it felt like the only thing that we ever learned was conjugate this verb. When to use usted, when to use ustedes, and that's the only thing I remember. I don't know words at all, and I'm terrible at it because it's all the root of Latin. I could take the time and figure out where certain things line up and where there's a rhythm and a pattern to it. But I'm just very
Cinematographic says vocabulistics, Cap. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if my issue with some things this is going to make me sound really self-conscious. Sometimes I wonder if my issues with things are a lack of memory or a lack of memory recall. There's something blocking memories that are there, and I just have a hard time getting them to the surface. I think more often that's what it is, because when I was in Germany, 2 or 3 days in, all of a sudden a bunch of vocabulary came back to me that I hadn't used in years, and I never actually spoke it out loud that much, because I was never in a. Well, at first, I was in a class where you didn't have to speak it out loud. Most foreign language courses, you get to where you're just speaking that language. You're not supposed to speak English at all because you have that, because it helps you practice it, and you get into a rhythm and you get used to thinking in that language, right?
Yep.
I never got used to thinking in German. So when I had to skip some time. When I came back, I was in a different German class where they did do that, and I was really lost, and it was awful. But anyway, welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Danny and I are going to take your questions for the next hour, and once again, we're going to do a regular Ask Me Anything show. So feel free to throw us questions about anything that you want to. We're going to go as lickety-split as we can and try to knock out a whole bunch of them. If you want to make sure that your question gets seen, you can use the Super Chat, but we're going to try to get to as many pre-written ones as we can, and I just mentioned the Super Chat in case you've got something burning and you want to make sure that you get it seen, because sometimes it looks like, oh no, Cap's only answering Super Chats and I'm never going to get my questions seen. No, that's not true. We don't only answer Super Chats, and that has just become a thing that we see more of than we used to. And so we sure appreciate folks that do that, but don't feel, of course, like you have to. We're going to try to get to as many pre-written ones as we possibly can. Danny, I am finally about to put out a new episode of the Geekvolution Omnibus. And by episode, I mean episodes, a whole bunch of different things, of course. And we hadn't shot an omnibus in 6 to 8 weeks, so we had a crazy amount of stuff to talk about this time. Did you see my post on Facebook? We were up till 6:30 in the morning, and somebody was like, "Oh, good! I can't wait for the 12-hour omnibus." I don't think you're that far off. It's not 12 hours. But it's a longer one, and now part of it was Eric got home a little bit late that night from work, but we went ahead and shot the show anyway, and it's a good one. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So anyway, we knocked out a whole bunch of stuff. We talked about Vice on that show. We talked about Glass on that show. We, for the first time ever, talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths, the classic major event from DC. So check it out, will you? That's going to come out. I'm hoping to get at least some of those videos out on Thursday, but I have not been able to start editing a lot of that yet. So Friday, hopefully at the very latest. Anyway, let's go ahead and get rolling. Mr. Nixon, could we please get a couple of pre-written questions? I'm already seeing some super chats, but I want to knock those out. So let's do a couple of pre-written questions, and then we'll go to some super chats. Go right ahead, sir.
All right. I'll start with our first question from Freezer. Awesome name. Which is better, pineapple on a pizza or pineapple on a burger?
Ooh, good one. You know, as much as I like pineapple on a pizza, and I do, I like to mix it with, I like to put it with sausage. Most people put pineapple and ham, which was at one time more often referred to on a pizza as Canadian bacon. And I don't hear that as much anymore. Now I hear more ham and pineapple, but we used to always say Canadian bacon.
In fact, I think on the Domino's online app, it's called ham now and not Canadian bacon.
Yeah, I don't know why we changed it. Does it just confuse people?
Apparently.
But see, Danny's more confused by the lack of the label Canadian bacon.
Yes. I want my Canadian bacon imported straight from Canada. What's so wrong with that?
Right, of course. Yeah. If it's not from Vancouver, I'm not happy. I want my bacon from the same place I get my Smallville.
or any CW show. Insert CW show here.
Yeah, most of except if the Aquaman show had actually happened, that pilot I reviewed a couple weeks ago, that was not shot in Vancouver.
Did you see that they had put that? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you? I was just going
to say, because you can't shoot that in Vancouver because it's surrounded by water. Go ahead.
Did you see that? Like right after y'all posted that video about the Christmas unwrapping video, they put it on the DC universe.
What, the Aquaman pilot, really?
Yes, the one.
I could have reviewed it from that. That's hilarious. Yeah. I went ahead and rushed it because I finally had a copy now. No, everyone paying for that has a copy of that now.
They put it up like January 1st, so it was like right around that same time that you would.
I didn't know we got any new content. I am totally going to ask this answer this food question here in a second. By the way, I'm totally going to answer this question. As much as I like pineapple on a pizza, I think I do prefer it on a burger.
I've never had it on a burger. But
it's wonderful.
I'm immediately going to like Pulp Fiction, where it sounds like it would be really good. And I'm not a pineapple person.
Well, what you want to do is get out your George Foreman grill, right? And grill your burger and your pineapple separately. Like grill the pineapple on the grill and then put it on top of the burger, and it's delicious. Super tasty. Yeah. That with a little pepper jack cheese.
That is a tasty burger.
Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Thanks for that food question. But what I was going to say is I much prefer to put it with Italian sausage on a pizza. That's a combination that most people don't do. If you like pineapple at all, and especially if you already don't mind it on a pizza, try that combination. I think you'll like it.
All right, I will scroll back up because we've got like a page or a half a page of super chat. So let me scroll up to the.
Oh man, we got to get faster then. I spent like 4 minutes on pineapple. We got.
No, you're good. I'm using a large font so I can read it better. Because I'm getting old. Blue Dragon 5 says, Cap and Danny, how would you deal with the cyborg Captain Logan taking over Geekvolution?
Probably the same way I dealt with Doomsvids. You know, with like logic and empathy. Yeah, no, I would just show them all the ways in which that you can't be Captain Logan and not have emotions. It's not possible. You know, for better or worse.
You
It's not
have to have
possible.
emotions to have opinions on movies. It's subjective. It just doesn't work if you don't.
You know what I'm picturing though, and I hope nobody thinks this is racially insensitive, but I have to say it this way to make this joke work. I'm imagining it like Smallville, or like Supergirl, where there's a guy who looks nothing like, there's a black man that looks nothing like me and doesn't dress like me at all, and he says, "I'm Cyborg Captain Logan." That's what I'm imagining. Do you remember that in Supergirl?
Haven't watched anything.
Oh, you haven't watched that? Okay. That is, I could not stop making fun of that. You got a guy who looks nothing like Superman at all. He doesn't have like the half Superman face. He's not wearing a Superman costume. I'm Cyborg Superman. Yeah, you're a robot, and that's where the similarities end. And that's not even similar to Superman. This is where the similarities to the character in the comics. That's what I'm imagining. It's just a guy of a totally different ethnicity than me, probably older than me, looks nothing like me at all. He just is a robot. I'm Cyborg Captain Logan. I'm imagining that.
Cyborg Captain Logan, played by Morgan Freeman.
yeah, exactly. And he also claims he's God.
Jeez, Cap, that's quite the complex you got there.
Hey, that's Cyborg Captain Logan. That's not me. Okay. All right. What else we got?
I'll jump down to Jeffrey's super chat real quick because
sure.
Oh, related to our opening banter. But he says, "El show de Danny Nixon todos los días." So thank you, because I understand los días.
Just delayed jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means at all.
The Danny Nixon show today, I think, or something along the lines of
either everybody loves the Danny Nixon show. We only did one episode, but
and it'll soon be on the DC Universe streaming.
Why did that pilot ever go to series? And it didn't cost them anything to make. Did DC Universe give us any more new content besides that?
Green Lantern's on the cartoon is on there. They put Batman and Batman Returns back on there.
Oh, good. I thought the Green Lantern animated series had already been on there.
No, it was one of the, I don't want to say holdouts, but one of the shows that they hadn't loaded at launch.
Okay, that's really funny because I have been watching that, and I thought that had been there the whole time. So I have been taking advantage of this, and I didn't even realize it. By the way, I reviewed a little bit of that on the Geek Omnibus. I watched a few more episodes today. That show is so good. It is just wonderful. I don't know if you've seen it, Danny.
I've seen episodes here and there, but it was at a time where I wasn't like keeping up with like the cartoon shows, and it was at the same time as Young Justice, so I need to go back and watch both of them because apparently they're both really good, and I completely missed them.
Like Young Justice, it binges really well. At first, it will look to you like it is more episodic than it is, but every time they do, and like there's a really good sense of continuity through that show and a sense of forward momentum, and like we're working towards something, but we're also traveling in a particular path in a spaceship. And I mean, it's really good science fantasy, but they'll do an episode that feels like a standalone one-off thing. Like they do a Mogo episode, and you don't really expect it to connect back up with the show very soon, but they'll do these one-off episodes, and 2 or 3 episodes later, all of a sudden, characters that felt like one-offs are back and dealing with this again. And there was one episode where I think the very next episode, we brought back a character that we left on a planet that I didn't think we'd see again, or at least for a very long time. A really nice sense of continuity in that show. And I just finished the I think episode 14, which feels like the end of a season. And it looks like that show is kind of broken up into 2 half seasons, which is nice since it only got 1 season. But it's 25 episodes that whole season, and they resolve the whole conflict they've been dealing with in 14 episodes. And then I'm like, oh, there's more show left. What's gonna happen? So yeah, I'm loving it. It's excellent, and I don't care about Green Lantern. I do love Red Lanterns, which is part of why I'm liking it so well. But it's great.
I hate to say this, but the reason I never gave the show much of a chance when it was airing, I don't like the Bruce Timm style animation in 3D. I just don't like how it looks.
You know what? I don't either, but the stories are so good that I don't mind it. And I'm with you. I don't like the initial designs, but then after a while it starts to grow on me. There's some really cool space stuff that they do that they're doing in 3D animation that I don't think they could make look as cool in 2D. Where it feels like it's served by the medium pretty well. But yeah, it does have that problem of those character models look like somebody's playing with action figures.
Yeah,
it definitely has that. And Atrocitus has a really strange design. All the other Red Lanterns look just like they do in the comics, but he's got kind of a weird face. I don't know what that's about. Solar Dragon says he's also a big fan of that show. It's so good. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
All right, I'll jump up to our first super chat, our first chronological super chat.
Well, let's do that.
Super Nerd.
Yeah.
I always love when he sends a super chat. You just say super so many times. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl?
Super Nerd wants to know if I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. No.
And he asked in a super chat. No.
Yes. The answer to that is no. In fact, I've never really enjoyed football that much, and these days, there's no good reason if you don't actually want to watch the game unless you're excited about the halftime show, and that's never anybody I care about. Well, and I was going to say, if finally Weird Al got to play the Super Bowl like people wanted several years ago, I was going to say I would watch it for that, but I still wouldn't. I'd just watch the YouTube video the next day, right? That's the problem is we used to tune into the Super Bowl for all the cool commercials, but you can just watch them the next day now.
Yeah, well,
all the mystique and everything is taken out of stuff now because of all this advanced technology we have. So, you can just wait for it the next day.
Well, a lot of places are putting out their Super Bowl commercial online before the Super Bowl, which seems to defeat the purpose of paying so much money to put your commercial on the Super Bowl. I don't know.
What is the point of that? I mean, I guess it is still going to be a lot more people who see it than not, because how many people are actually going to go look at it on YouTube the next day? You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, those commercials are probably even the most popular ones online. They'll get maybe 1 million views, but watching the Super Bowl, they're going to get more like 9 or 10 million views, probably, right?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't keep up with the Super Bowl's actual ratings.
No, me neither. But I'm just saying that's probably the reason. Hey, a big shout out to Dan's News. He's there in the comments. Thanks for being here, Dan. And I wanted to mention that he was on Morphin Mania last week with us, and we had an absolute blast with him. That will be available in a few weeks to watch publicly. But we're hoping to have him back for more of that and also some other things soon. And Danny, he and I are talking about eventually bringing back Bat Chat. It's difficult at the moment because of Morphin Mania, but especially as soon as that's done, we want to bring that back and have both of you guys co-hosting that with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait to get back into more DCAU stuff.
William Parcell, sorry, real quick. William Parcell says, Cap knows many Dans. Yes, and I'm wanting, I haven't told you about this yet. I did tell Dan's News about this. I have every intention, if I can get all of you guys together this year, and I don't know what we'll talk about, I have every intention of doing a panel that is just me and the Dans on the channel.
Yes.
So it'll be you and Dan's News and Dan Torrey, the three-man band of Dans on Geekvolution. We got to figure out what to talk about, but I think that could be so much fun. Insert clever name here says Crisis of Infinite Dans. That's pretty good.
We just talk about Dan Dryberg the whole time from watching.
These famous Dans. Oh, hey, guess what? The trifecta is here. Dan Torrey is also in the comments.
Is he?
Yes, there he is.
Oh, Torrey GNR.
He just showed up.
The band of Dans is here.
Dan says, I'm just stopping by. I just finished my homework. So I don't know if Dan actually heard everything I just said. But Dan, I'm wanting to get you and the other two Dans together with me in some kind of a panel this year in celebration of the 10th anniversary. I don't know what it'll be yet. But Cap the band of Dans. We got to figure it out.
The second part of Super Nerd Super Chat, he says, also, if you were put in charge of making a Batman film, what would you do?
I'm sorry, would you say that one more time?
Yeah. If you were put in charge of making a Batman film, what would you do?
So I've always said that I would love to see a much more grounded and realistic not grounded and realistic in the sense of the Nolan movies. I would want a more stylized Batman that's still super street level and doesn't necessarily deal with a lot of superpower kind of things and just a detective driven film. Everything I'm asking for sounds like what Matt Reeves at least says he's making.
Yeah.
So it seems like when we eventually finally get that movie, which is now slated tentatively for 2021, hopefully it comes out. Can you believe that much time has passed now? That 2021 is just a couple of years away.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get something close to the kind of movie that I would like to see. But just broadly, that if you were gonna adapt something, it would be cool to get something closer to Nightfall. Like I know, I think Nightfall is a story that would make for a great miniseries, but that also you could probably do in one film really well. And I know that we already saw Dark Knight Rises do some stuff from Nightfall, but and also it would probably need to be a sequel to something, right? Like, because I'd love to see just straight up the Jean Paul Valley thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happen, but like not No Man's Land so much. I think that does need to be a longer thing. I still, at one time there had been talk about an animated series that would just adapt No Man's Land, which I think is just the best idea ever.
It'd be perfect to put on DC Universe.
Yeah.
You can go darker with it than what you would be allowed to get away with on TV. You don't have to go super adult with it, obviously, but you can do what Young Justice seems to be doing, where like they can push a little bit further than what Cartoon Network would probably allow.
Insert clever name here just wrote No Dan's Land, which would be the opposite of what I just pitched. It would be a show with none of the Dans on it. Danny, can you think of any stories that straight up you'd like to see adapted, or just what would your definitive, Batman on screen on the big screen look like?
It would be the Bat Family. It would be Batman. It would be Nightwing. It would be Barbara Gordon.
Barbara Girl, save the day.
It would be Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and then Tim Drake as Robin. So it would be DCAU Bat Family. Sure.
No, absolutely. Can I answer a question that Dan just asked?
Yes.
I'm going to play favorites. Sorry. Is DC Universe a service worth subscribing to if you don't want to watch Titans? I'm not just answering that because Dan asked it. I think that's a question worth answering. And I would say it depends on what else you're interested in, because the third season of Young Justice just dropped, and the first couple episodes of that are pretty decent, or I mean, straight up good, I think. But if you're not into that show, or you got to catch up, maybe you would want to do that. But then you could subscribe to it to catch up on that show. But yeah, like, because there's so little there at the moment, just like, Dan, knowing your particular taste, I'd say probably not, because you're not a big DC guy. But on the other hand, if you don't own a lot of that stuff because you're not a DC fan, it might be worth subscribing 1 month to binge some of it. So to watch some of those movies that maybe you haven't seen in a long time, or I don't know if there's anything that Dan's never seen. But like, TV show wise, like if you were ever curious to go back and check out Lois and Clark, that's the way to do it. Stuff like that. So. Yeah. And there's comics there. If you don't mind reading digital comics, there's some stuff there that's worth looking at. So
I wouldn't sign up annually, but I would definitely sign up for a month, binge watch as much of it as you can, and see if like there's anything else on there that would keep you to subscribe for a month. But don't do what I did and spend all that money for a year and have not a whole lot of content to show for it.
Yeah. I mean, I have continued paying for mine, and I'm using it, I guess, enough. But I'm thinking like, well, look, I'm watching Green Lantern the animated series, but like, it's one season. How much would that cost for me to just, up and buy? Like, I'm paying $8 a month for that subscription service. I'm sure that's like a $30 purchase at most.
Yeah, or probably get it like, it's one season, so you could probably get it like $10 for $10 digitally. And obviously, you don't buy digital, but if you just wanted to watch it, you could spend effectively 1 month's, subscription and have the whole thing owned, I guess.
Yeah, precisely. Let's go back to the pre-written question, shall we?
All right, let me scroll up a little bit. Connor Nielsen asks, what is the worst movie you have seen to ever be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't keep up enough with awards. So, like, just off the top of my head, my knowledge is so limited, I can't give you a good answer. I would have to go back and look at all the nominations and see what I have seen that has been nominated. Danny, do you right off have something where you're just like, that wasn't deserving of Best Picture? How did that get nominated?
All I'm thinking of, and I can't even remember the name, is like a few years ago, like some film won over like, I forget what it was like, it won over like some big, like, well-known, like really good film, and I can't remember what it is. Like that, I can't remember what film it went over. Maybe it was like Shawshank or something like that. But someone who knows more, I can't even remember the name of it, because like I barely keep up with who won, let alone like who gets nominated, because they nominate between like 5 and 7 films every year.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a great answer right away. I would have to do some research and get back to you, Connor. Sorry about that. Connor, by the way, sent me a message yesterday and told me to go see a horrible movie at the theater. And seeing as I didn't have a lot of other days this week that I could go, I decided to drop everything I was doing, get in the car, and go see this horrible movie. And it was horrible.
Which one was it? Or you?
I went and saw Matthew McConaughey's Serenity, and it is one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. I cannot wait to talk about it on the omnibus. I'm not going to say anything about it here except to say, if you want to see something very, very strange and juvenilely written and wonder how in the world it even got made, go to that. I will say this, and this is going to give away for people what I thought of Glass, but I thought Glass was dreadful. It is worse than Glass by a margin. Yeah, it's nuts. The basic premise of that movie does not make any sense at all. And like a Shyamalan film, it's a big twist. It feels like a thing that Shyamalan might have made, or that like this director grew up with Shyamalan and wanted to be the next Shyamalan. That's how it watches. But if you want to see Matthew McConaughey scream a lot, chasing big fish, I said I wouldn't say anything. And run around not wearing clothes a lot, go to that.
Does he ever meet up with the crew from Firefly?
No.
No.
But like Serenity, the Firefly film, it's called that because it's the name of a boat. I mean, Firefly space boat, but yeah.
I love that they steal the title and they basically steal why it's got that title. It's just funny too.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's really bad. I am looking forward to breaking that down in a couple of weeks on the next omnibus. Does
it qualify for Superhero Rewind?
Freezer says, say it again.
Does that qualify for Superhero Rewind?
Thank God, no. Or you guys might never see me ever again. Honestly, I don't want to be hyperbolic about it. I want to say like one of the worst things I've ever seen. I think it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I can think of movies I'd rather watch it over because it's not boring in the same way. Like I'd still watch that before I'd watch what is that movie based on a Greg Rucka graphic novel that I hated so much that's set in the Arctic. I'd rather watch it over that, but yeah. Freezer says where is it? He says, it's like Shyamalan fell down a flight of stairs, hit his head, and then sat right down and wrote a script. Yep. It's like that. Okay. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
All right. Our next super chat is from William Parcell. He says, do you think Lucasfilms mishandled The Last Jedi Backlash? They didn't seem to take criticism well, and things seem to fall apart from there.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by this comment. Hot Flame says, Serenity is by the creator of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What? Really? That's amazing.
Okay, that's pretty great.
Yes, cinematographic, it is whiteout. Thanks, I couldn't think of it. I'm sorry, would you read that? So we're still talking about Last Jedi Backlash. Is that what that question's about?
Yeah, do you think Lucasfilms mishandled the response to the Last Jedi Backlash?
We have talked about this ad nauseum, so I don't feel the need to keep harping on this. But yeah, overall, I think so. Or I think at least certain producers and people involved have not been as professional about it as they ought to be, and they should just let it wash off their back and decide moving on how they're going to handle their films, and if they want to change anything or based on that, or use that to help decide their direction moving forward. But I wouldn't have directly responded to the fans the way some of them have. Let's keep going.
All right, our next super chat from David Crabtree. Do you have a definitive comic artist for Batman? For me, it's Neil Adams. I'm also reading Batman Zero Hour from '94 and digging Mike Manley's work.
Yeah, Zero Hour I've not looked at in a long time, and I've never read all of it. I hear conflicting things about that. That's one of those things that I think some people with Zero Hour, I'll just mention this real quick, that I think some people think there's like a definitive way the fans have come down on that, where I hear people who say it's great, and I hear people who say it's notoriously bad, like everyone hates Zero Hour. I don't think that's true. I cannot find a consensus on Zero. I haven't read it in so long, and I've never read all of it that I can't respond to that. But like, it's sort of like Civil War, where there's a lot of people that remember that as a great event, but then there's a large sect of fans that are like, no, that's one of the worst events that ever happened. I have mentioned this before, so sorry for repeating myself. I do this self-indulgent hour-long live show every week, and so it's difficult not to repeat yourself. Norm Brayfogle is absolutely my definitive Batman artist. And a close second would be Bermejo.
That's a good one.
Love Bermejo.
Yeah, mine is always David Mazzucchelli.
And of course, I love Bruce Timm.
Yeah. A couple people are saying Bill Finger had to...
Oh, well, that's, I mean, yeah, sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
But
people are saying Capullo.
Yeah, I like Batman for me is like Spawn. If you draw the cape a certain way, I just get real excited about it. You know, I think Neil Adams is a great artist. For me, he's more of an important artist than he is like you know, up there in my absolute favorites. But I think he's really important in designing a particular look for Batman that a lot of other people after that, in my opinion, came in and kind of helped perfect. Like I love the like gray and blue Batman. I love a more colorful Batman, even in darker stories. I really like the kind of contrast to a somewhat more colorful Batman in a really dark kind of world. And even if the world's not dark, like maybe the story is you know, a little rougher and more broody. But that's what I love about comics, is that, you know, what we're seeing is not necessarily what everybody in the book is seeing. And so to people in like mid 70s, early 80s Batman stories inside the comics, they're probably seeing a jet black Batman, but I'm not, you know. So
yeah. Kind of sticking with this topic, Anime 2019 asked if we would consider doing a Batman themed chat next week in honor of Bill Finger's birthday, because it'll be next week.
It was funny, I actually kind of considered doing it this week, just because I've been in a Batman mood. So yeah, I'll definitely consider it. We haven't done a theme show in a long time, so
yeah.
You know, and I'm sure we've done a Batman theme show here, but that's obviously a thing we can do every so often. I think maybe the once a year Batman theme show on the Captain Logan show is probably a good idea. I have had people suggest, including Eric, that sometimes Geekvolution seems like it's a Batman channel and then some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean the logo is a Batman logo.
Well, and I mean like it's a Batcave, you know, like
yeah.
I just, you know, I shoot in my basement, which is all Batman, and I mean, like, the whole superhero movie collection is behind me. So if you could actually see the titles very well, you'd be able to tell. By the way, I have been, if anybody has a really good recommendation for an upgrade to my webcam, please let me know, because I've been considering getting a new one and trying to decide if the quality would be that much better if I got you know, a major upgrade, if I tried to get like a you know, I guess like I can't broadcast in 1080p anyway, I don't think, broadcasting live, but like if I got if I got something you know, newer and more pricey, I don't know if it would be any different, but I've been using the same webcam for a lot of years, so I've been considering upgrading. And when I talked to Dan's News last time, it seemed like his quality was maybe a little bit better than mine, but I can never tell if it's the camera or if it's the internet connection.
Yeah, that's the hard thing with like a Google Hangout for like a live stream, is so much of that is just dependent on both sides internet connection, as well as like any kind of like server issues that may be going on with like Google.
Yeah, exactly. Rockman wants to know if I'm a fan of the Meteor Man movie. You know, I've never seen that still. It's on my list of older superhero rewinds that I need to do. And I try to space out the older ones a little bit because I've reviewed so many superhero movies now, and a lot of them earlier ones, that I'm afraid I'm going to run out and I'm going to get to where I'm only doing things that just came out like a couple of years ago. But that is one that I've not done. I haven't done that. I haven't done Steel. There's some like lesser known or kind of, you know, bad. I don't know if I'm assuming that's not a terrible movie. That's something I just don't hear about. I don't even know how people feel about that movie.
I know nothing of it other than it's on the superhero rewind list.
Yeah, David sent me Meteor Man, but I have not gotten around to watching that. So I guess David likes it, and Rockman probably likes it if he asked that question, or maybe he hates it and he just wants to hear me rip it apart. I don't know.
All right. Do you want me to grab a pre-written question or go back to the super
Let's.
chat?
Well, what were the last couple? I don't even know where they came from. I'm assuming they were pre-written.
One was the last real question we got was a super chat from David Crabtree, and then I brought up the pre-written.
Yeah, let's do some more pre-written. Nathan Smith says the Steel Rewind is going to be fun. Yeah, Steel is on my short list. That's happening this year, theoretically. I mean, I never want to promise anything, if I get crazy busy and I just have a really hard time getting rewinds out. But I'm going to try to do a lot more this year. So that is on my short list. Blank Man, I did. Daniel Davis. And I enjoyed writing about that a lot. That was fun.
Right.
One of the few movies from that time period that use, well, that's then maybe a silly thing to say. I should say one of the few things in media at all that showed footage from Adam West Batman, and it wasn't the movie.
I'm sorry, what was that? Blank Man?
Yeah, Blank Man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that opens with the kids in a flashback, the two brothers that are the main characters in that movie, watching an episode of Batman. And at that time, because those weren't available anywhere except broadcast television, you usually didn't see them. You usually just saw a movie.
Interesting. Our next question is from Andrew Follett. He says, is there ever a movie that is so bad it sticks with you and haunts your thought for a long while? I had that with BVS. Still kind of still do.
I mean, the short answer is yes. I do have that every so often. Yeah, I mean, I want to say that to some degree I've kind of had that with Glass a little bit. I guess it hasn't haunted me, and it was more funny bad, and I just feel kind of embarrassed for it. But it has made it, and I haven't gotten the next rewind out yet. I'm working on a rewind for Split, and I made the mistake of seeing that movie before I started working on that rewind, and that has made it very difficult for me to rate that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of. Well, I mean, BVS is obviously in there. Man of Steel retroactively, which I won't even refer to as a straight up bad movie, but it's just confounding in a lot of ways, particularly in things that it thinks it's communicating and isn't, or that's me giving it too much credit and it's not actually trying to communicate anything in scenes where I don't know what it's trying to tell me. But I had that where I saw BVS and I was like, oh, things because I had just written the Man of Steel review, and I was like, oh, things I gave that movie credit for, I shouldn't have. And as I've said before, that movie was very difficult to write about, and I thought it would be a breeze because I thought I knew what I was going to say, and then I started writing and I was like, oh, this is coming out very differently. But I'm trying to think. I know I've had this with a couple of Star Trek. It's Nemesis I had this with. Yeah, definitely. So there's another answer.
All right. Our next question from Vamp Edits. Are you going to do Smallville again?
Yeah, I need to get back to that. I have just been too busy with other things. I've had to drop off of it again. And I hate that because it's just commentaries. It should be easy to get those theoretically out week to week. Part of it is Morphin-Mania, which I realize there's not a huge, I always do this. I always get redundant. Danny, it's a huge and giant right next to each other. There's not a giantly huge following for that show, but it's a thing that we committed to, and now we're in the middle of it, and I don't want to just suddenly shut it down because it doesn't have a giant contingency of viewers. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to handle that because it's not doing as well as I was hoping it would, and I think part of that is because when I post those videos, sometimes they've already been up for a little bit before I made them unlisted in the first place because we shoot those live, so they don't get in people's feeds and people won't see them, and so they don't get viewed. But even the ones that does happen with, it's not doing. And I am occasionally getting not a ton, but a little bit of complaints from people who are like, "Oh, Cap, nobody's watching this. You should be working on something else." Like, yeah, but we committed to it, and it's the thing I wanted to do, and it's been really fun. Like the folks that have been there have been really enjoying it, but it's experimental like the Manias always are, and I am not surprised that there's not a huge amount of people that want to watch us talk about every episode of Power Rangers in order while we're watching it. I get that. But anyway, so the short answer is it's difficult when I'm doing other commentaries to do Smallville, and also I'm limited on how often especially with a baby in the house, I can just sit down and do a commentary because of, you know, responsibilities there, but also like noise in the house. Eric still lives with me. He lives in the room right behind us. And I used to do a lot of things like that, well, you know, into the wee hours in the morning. And I can't do that right now. And so until Eric moves out, it's going to be more difficult to make shows like that. And before Mikey was born, it wasn't as hard because I could shoot those during the day. But there's no shooting that during the day now. So like, what time do I have to do it? So anyway, so that's the reason that hasn't happened yet. Getting back to that show, I'm also, Danny, not super comfortable. I know you didn't watch Smallville or much, so I don't know if you ever even really watched kind of Crypto Things, but I've never been comfortable with the commentary format. It's the way that I changed it to make it, you know, possible to keep going with that show, but without being able to do the stills, I can't write it the way I want to write it. Because that show, unlike Rewind, I mean, it's shorter, and the stills were part of the rhythm of that and part of the comedy, and I don't feel right doing it without the whole package. I'm very all or nothing with things, and so. But I didn't want to just completely stop talking about it, so that's why I made it a commentary show. And I know there were plenty of people that continue to watch it that way, and some people told me they even preferred it, you know, commentary wise. So that's cool. I want to get back to it, but I just need more time in my day that I can be down here without anybody around. So that's the thing there.
It could potentially be the next Mania, Crypto Mania.
The problem with that is that because I started Counting Crypt Freaks by myself, that strictly has to be a show I do on my own.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I made it the next Mania, it would be thing by myself. And also, Mania is, I mean, those are laid back to some degree, but Mania is laid back in a different way, where you kind of just sit around and shoot the breeze and say whatever comes to mind. And there's not, you know, there doesn't necessarily have to be as much analysis on that show. Counting Crypto Freaks is still prepared. I mean, I still watch the episode again, and I take notes, and I, you know, count things. So I mean, like, it's still a prepared show in a way that Manias are not.
Yeah. Jumping back into our super chats from Thomas Edgehill. So, I've had a rough day at work. So, would you please tell me about some of your worst/funniest customers? I love your channel. The best after a long day.
What do you mean by customers? You mean like just at jobs I've had, or like viewers? Because I don't think of viewers as customers.
So, who is the funniest customer you have, and why is it Jeffrey E. Patron?
Oh, well, we can talk about Jeffrey. No, Jeffrey just left a comment, by the way, and said, Madness Mania. Cap goes mad for 365 days. I did that 5 years ago. It lasted for 2 whole years. You got to see it for more than 365 days. Well, spread out. It was that number of days, but it was spread out over 2 years. Funniest customer. So I used to work at GameStop, and everybody that worked at GameStop has GameStop stories. It's been a long time, so and I think that I have like blocked some of that from my memory because a lot of that was not the best experience. I'm sure I had crazier people in this. The first thing that comes to mind is there was a woman. I don't know if I ever told this story. There was a woman that came in. She was looking for a Nintendo DS. She was a little older. She wasn't elderly. She was maybe, I don't know, maybe late 50s, early 60s. And she's looking for a Nintendo DS, and or she's looking at them because I guess like her grandkids or something told her that they wanted one, and she didn't understand what it was. And she starts asking me questions, and then doesn't want me to give her answers because she doesn't like my answers, which are just the answer to the question. So she's like, I don't understand why they call it a Nintendo DS. Why are these things all complicated and confusing, and normal people can't follow them? And I was like, well, I understand why you feel like that, ma'am, because it doesn't sound like, you know, just a normal everyday thing that if you're not into computers and stuff, you would call a thing. But DS stands for dual screen because there's two of them. You know, there's two screens. She goes, that's over my head. I don't understand that. And I said, well, you know, it's difficult in a situation like this not to come off rude, but like you're trying to be helpful, but also in the back of my mind, you're like, if you just listen to me, it's not hard. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, ma'am, dual means two, and there's two screens, so it's dual screen. And she was just like,
Numbers are over my head, Cap. You
You need to
gotta
stop speaking Greek, okay? Like,
you should have then held up like the Roman numeral for 2. Like I said, fine. Is Roman any better?
yeah. Anyway, so that was a customer. I've talked a little bit about experiences that I had at the mortuary, so I won't go into that because I've already told my best mortuary story, and that was technically a customer story because of the of the family that was trying to get me to put more pillows under the head of a 550-pound man to make him look more comfortable, and we already had like 17 pillows under his head, and there was no making him look more comfortable. But I've told that story. So anyway, but there's one.
Insert clever names here says DS stands for Dan Screen. I don't know what you're on about, Cap.
Yeah, I think it also stands for something else. It stands for dual screen, and I was watching a video the other day about the DS that mentioned there's even like a second thing it stands for, and I can't remember what it is now. It'll come to me though.
I was looking through the comments to see if maybe someone had mentioned it, but no, it doesn't look like they have. Someone will probably come in with it in a few seconds.
Screen. Yeah, Danny, do you have any good customer stories?
Yeah, I told my best one the last time like this question kind of came up.
Yeah, sure.
But as far as like developer system is what Rockman says DS stood for.
Yes, that's what it is. Thanks, man. Yeah. In the back of my mind, I was thinking Rockman's going to be the guy that gives me the answer to this.
Like the funniest I can think of is like this older lady who's probably mid-60s or early 70s when I was a bagger at a grocery store who would come in like very regularly, and like all the baggers kind of knew her. You take her groceries out to her car, and she'd always give you a talk about how you should always use contraceptives. Constantly, every time you went out to her to take her groceries out there, she's like, "Thank you so much, young man." And yeah, caught everyone off guard because she's like a very frail little old lady talking about that, and I was like, "Well, okay." Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Blue Dragon 5 says PSA time with Danny.
And when I worked at Jimmy John's, I worked a late shift overnight. We were right next to bars, and so unlike most Jimmy John's, we were open till like 3 a.m. And I dealt with a lot of drunk people. I don't immediately have. I'm not remembering any like specific stories that are great, but there were wild, silly people. What else, Danny? We got about 10 minutes left or so.
All right, we've got 2 more super chats.
Let's knock them out.
All right. I'm not going to try to pronounce your first name, but something DeAndrade says, "So, who's our new Batman?"
Well, I don't know yet. Are we talking about who's going to get cast for the new film? Is that what we're talking about?
I believe so. Yes, because the news came out that Ben Affleck's definitely not.
Yeah, like, are you asking me because you're not sure? You're quizzing me. Like, I'm not sure. How I'm supposed to answer that question. Yeah, we don't know yet. Well, and the Ben Affleck thing apparently is still kind of in the air, but that's not going to happen, right? And I'd
be super surprised if he's involved in that movie. And
there's still rumors that like maybe he'll bookend it and he'll be like telling the story of like Deadpool, Once Upon a Deadpool, where he'll be telling the story about his younger self. But the DCEU is officially dead now, so I don't know what the point of that would be. And furthermore, like it's complicated, right? Because we're still going to be using the same Wonder Woman and the same Aquaman, and so that universe is going to be dead only in the sense that those films are not gonna worry about tonally being different from each other and contradicting history from movies that didn't do well and that people hated. But it's always going to be awkward, right? Because you're still going to have the baggage of where those characters came from in the first place. And so I think it's going to be difficult to convince general audiences that this is not all still in the DCEU. And I think for years to come, you will still hear people refer to that as the DCEU, even though it technically isn't that anymore. If I were DC and Warner Brothers, I would, even if they still wanted to do them or we still had them under contract, I would immediately cast different Batmans and Supermans. And I realize that that's already happening, but I'm just saying that even if Cavill was still interested and still in contract, as much as I think he would make a great Superman if we let him play Superman, I think the right move at this point is to recast Batman and Superman and go in totally different directions for no other reason than to not confuse people any more than we're already confusing them, right?
Yep.
Like, and also because I think Affleck, even though I liked him a lot in BVS, and I think a lot of people did, and for a lot of people that was the saving grace, I think Affleck's name would hurt that movie, potentially, just because BVS is so maligned. And you could say, well, nobody liked Justice League either. Yeah, but nobody saw Justice League. Like, BVS, and I mean, like, BVS didn't make the kind of money it needed to, but a lot of people went that first weekend and then it dropped off 70%, right?
Yeah.
Justice League, a lot of people just didn't bother with. And so, like, it didn't hurt Aquaman at all, but I don't think that's because people saw it and ignored it or because people saw it and liked Aquaman in it. I think it's because people either didn't see it or forgot about it immediately because it's the most forgettable superhero film in the last 5 years, at least, right? So, or one of them. But yeah, it's up there at any rate. So yeah, so as much as I would love to have seen Ben Affleck finally, get to do a really good Batman movie, I think that what Reeves is probably going to do would be the smarter way to go. And also, we're pretty sure he's wanting to make obviously a smaller movie, but also a movie about a younger Batman.
Yeah, this is like the perfect opportunity to just recast Batman, get it over with, move forward with something that's not tied to BVS, Justice League, Man of Steel type of stuff.
Well, and Guidi says he's elaborating and saying what he really wanted me to do was fan cast, and I don't like fan casting. I suck at it, and I always find that people pull out better names than me because they've seen more recent things than me with younger people. So I'm like, I don't right off know like who in their mid-20s, early 30s would make a great Batman. Does anybody jump out to you immediately?
No, a couple of people have thrown around a couple names. Michael C. Hall is someone who's apparently being like rumored for it.
That's an interesting choice. I don't love that, but
so I'm thinking of someone completely different because I just Googled him and he looks interesting for Batman. He looks very much like an Adam West type of Batman, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of some comedian.
Oh, okay. Well, it worked with Michael Keaton.
Well, no, I thought when they said Michael C. Hall, I was thinking of some comedian from like the VH1 era. Like, I love the like 90s type of stuff. I was like, that's a weird Batman choice. But no, I always say like find some unknown person because everyone I could like fan cast would just like I wouldn't see Batman. I'd see that person.
And that sounds like a cop-out response, but like everybody I think of that I would love to see in that role is too old for what I'm assuming he would do with that now. And somebody in the comments said, Hawkflame, that the difficulty is we don't even know what the script is. So it's hard to see because there are a lot of different ways to do Batman, right? Like it's much easier, not that I would have had a great one for this either, but it's much easier to fan cast Spider-Man than it is Batman because there's kind of, I mean, I guess there are different ways to do Peter Parker, but there's more of like a definitive Peter Parker look than there is a definitive Bruce Wayne or Batman look. Yeah. I would say, but anyway, yeah, it just right off. I don't know. I'm with you. It is the cop out response, but I don't want to be looking at Batman and think about all the other things that guy has played, which is, I think, why reasonably people were worried about and didn't want Michael Keaton, because it's like, well, we just saw him in silly comedies, and now I'm going to be thinking that the whole time I watched that movie, and people were impressed that he put all that away, and it was really easy to not see him in that movie, but. Yeah. One of the things I really appreciate about Christian Bale was, for me, he was a no-name. Like, I know he had been in stuff, and I think American Psycho predates that. And I think, right? And also right before that, I think the thing he does right before that is The Machinist, which famously is crazy because of all the weight he had to put on right after he had lost a ton of weight. And it's amazing that he's not dead. But like Christian Bale, I didn't know, and so I got to come to know him through Batman, and I think that's part of why he's really close to my definitive screen Batman. I always hesitate saying that, but
yeah, I really can't think of any everything I'm thinking of would be like the Ben Affleck age, which is not what you want to do.
That's not what you want to do. Yeah.
or at least not what I'd assume you'd want to do for this particular Batman.
I think it would be really weird to replace Ben Affleck with another older actor. And I think that would be a big mistake. I think it would to go in a completely different direction and make us wonder if it's even set in the same continuity. And then 5 minutes into it, we don't care anymore, right?
Yep.
That's what I think.
Our next super chat from William Parcell, because we've had a few extra come in since I said we only had 2.
Yeah, sorry, real quick. Bon Dutchwald, I don't know about John Hamm. I feel like there are probably other superheroes that he'd make sense for before Batman. I've heard that thrown around. I don't immediately love that idea, but
have you seen Mad Men?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I love the guy as an actor. He's so.
No, he's a really good actor. And again, he's a little old.
Yeah, that's like the first thing that came to mind was like that's just replacing Ben Affleck with like a Ben. Not to say that John Hamm is Ben Affleck light, but like in that role, it would just be Ben Affleck light because you'd have him play it the exact same way. But
yeah. All right.
Our next super chat from William Parcell. Do you think Disney will keep its promise to let Deadpool and other X-Men films be rated R? I can't help but worry that they won't.
I'm sorry. You cut out for me for just a second. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah. Do you think Disney will keep its promise and let Deadpool and the other X-Men films?
I don't know. So here's what throws everything into question with that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I heard the end of that.
No, you're good.
Danny, here's what throws everything into question about that. And we talk about this on the Omnibus, so look forward to the Captain's Log on this. But reportedly, Black Widow is rated R. I don't believe that for a second.
I don't either.
But apparently, allegedly, it's going to be rated R. I just read that in an article somewhere. I wasn't totally sure about the source. I don't trust it.
I don't buy for a second that a character that's that heavy in the main MCU continuity.
I don't buy it.
No.
I'll have a lot of respect for them if they do that, because I think that is a character that makes a lot of sense to make a rated R movie about, particularly if they do a lot of stuff with her background in the Red Room, and like a lot of that could be really rough and dicey and stuff that you wouldn't want to take kids to. But then all of her background is in a movie that kids that watch the Avengers can't go back and find out about.
Yeah. And
again, I don't necessarily have a big problem with that. They can watch it when they're older. You know what I mean? But that's why I don't think they'll do it. And so that again begs the question: if Disney doesn't do that kind of stuff with their main MCU stuff, will they be willing to let those other movies like stand on their own and continue to be the darker, rougher things that they are and rated R things? Originally, maybe I've said this before. Originally, I thought Disney would let Fox act more autonomously and continue to run as the studio it has been, but it sounds more and more like that's not what they're going to do, and they're going to fold everything in. And if they fold everything in, then they're going to want synergy. That's not going to happen.
I have that exact same thought. Like if it were still being put out under like 21st Century Fox, I wouldn't think twice about them putting it out as rated R. But if it's got that Disney logo at the front of it, or I guess the Marvel logo, because they don't do the Disney logo for MCU. I don't see it being anything but PG-13.
Yeah, and on the other hand, Deadpool has been so popular as a rated R thing, Disney might look at it and say, if we don't put it out rated R, a lot of people are going to cry foul. And some people might say, well, yeah, but they did that PG-13 cut, but I don't think that tells us anything. And again, of course, that wasn't Disney because the deal is not all finished yet, so like their name's not on it. But I don't think the fact that happened, and I haven't looked at the numbers. I don't know if anybody went and saw that, but even if it did well, I don't think that tells us either direction whether they'll go through with more rated R Deadpool. I could see them just doing a real a hard push PG-13 thing, and then the question is, can you even get Ryan Reynolds to keep making them if they can't be rated R? And what kind of contract is he locked in?
Yeah,
hard to say.
I don't know. And like, you've got a little bit of leeway with like just the character of Deadpool. Like you can replace the actor, and like the quality is probably not going to be as good as the Ryan Reynolds movies, but at least you can get away with it and be like, yeah, I look different now, and have him acknowledge it and Wink, wink.
That's
nod, nod.
true. I think a lot of those fans wouldn't accept that.
Oh no, I don't think it would go over.
That's one of
well,
those reboots you don't want to do right away.
Yeah,
I said that way back when Spider-Man was rebooted the first time, and look what happened. I don't think you want to do that with Deadpool. How many more super chats do we have, Mr. Nixon?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, let's get those knocked out real fast because we are about out of time.
All right, our next super chat from Grady Child says, "Have you watched Reign of the Superman? I thought it was an okay movie." What? Okay, yeah, he's got multiple questions. So
I have not yet. I don't know if that's hit disc yet. I think that's supposed to hit this week. So maybe that was yesterday and I missed it. I'm not sure. I haven't been to the store yet. So I will cover that on the next omnibus regardless. But I've not seen it yet.
all right, his next question is, "What are your opinions on cats? I love them. They're my favorite animals."
Well, I like cats. I wish I love it when people ask me random questions like this that have nothing to do with anything. I really enjoy these a lot. You know what we should do? We should do. Wait, I'll answer the cat question. We should do a show at some point, Danny, that's like themed to not be geeky pop culture stuff. It's just like, I don't know what we'd call it, but some kind of just like random, like minutia kind of show. I don't know what exactly it would be. Just like the all mundane whatever's around your house show. But anyways, yeah, I like cats. I wish I wasn't allergic to them.
Same here.
I've never been a pet person, or at least I didn't used to be. I have dogs now and I love them, and I've come to really appreciate my pets. I wanted cats before because when I was a kid I had one briefly. My siblings and my mother and I lived in an older lady's house. And she had a cat, who I liked a lot. Oh, can I tell the story? Can I tell a story? I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but the mortuary came up earlier, and I've never mentioned this before. So this lady that we lived in her house for a while. I think I only lived there for like a year maybe before I moved back in with my with my dad when I was like 10. My mom lived there longer, and I always got along really well with this older lady, and she was like a grandmother that I didn't have. I wasn't related to her, but we always got along. And I never saw her again. And I think her kids wanted to move back in her house, and so my mom had to move. And I never saw her again. And then when I was working at the mortuary, she died, and we took care of the arrangements. Oh. So I saw I saw her body in the embalming room, and that was a strange experience. Yeah, I hadn't seen this lady in probably 15 years. Yeah. Anyway, that was weird.
Yeah. Blue Dragon 5 says you should save this for your mortuary memoirs.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how well I remember some of the stuff from that period. It's been so long now. It's been it's been 10 years, 11 years since I did that. But yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get dark on you. I just thought that was an interesting story. Now I didn't just like run into her in the embalming room. It's like, oh, that's a person I know. But I saw her folder, and I knew her name, and decided to go into the embalming room and pay my last respects. But yeah, it was weird. That was unusual. Anyway, but yeah, I have become more of a dog person, but that's mostly just because I'm allergic to cats. So yeah.
I like cats, but I'm allergic, so I don't like cats.
Yeah, it's rough. But if I could get, I don't know, if I didn't have dogs and I could get one of those kinds of cats, what do they call that? It's something allergenic. I can't remember the name. Is that what it is? Yeah. If I can get one of those, then I would have cats.
Yeah.
Okay, I was right. Grady Child said that Reign of the Superman did come out yesterday on DVD, so I'll run out and grab that and watch that shortly.
All right. I'll switch the sequence of these next two up because I think the first one.
Hey, Grady Child has a cat named Logan. That's cool.
And Zoe. Nice.
Yeah, and Zoe. Yep. I would name my other one like Lauren or X23. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm going to switch the order of these next two up because I think the first one that's on the list.
And I would like they would be the same breed of cats, right? I would walk up to Logan and I would be like, "She's like you, very much like you."
Great.
And then when that cat is 12 years old, I'd be like, "Look, it's my cat, old man Logan."
This is just absurd.
All right. Anyway, let's get those super chats knocked out. We are well out of time, but we gotta take care of those.
All right. Game Station 3 says, I actually think Avengers Endgame is a good title.
I don't think it's a bad title. I just thought it was very strange. And then he had another super chat after that where he's like, "You don't like that title, right?" No, I don't have a problem with it, and I like that it's that it's set up in the last movie and all of that. I just thought it was really weird that it took them that long that they kept it a secret for so long. Because I think that kind of annoyed people because we just expected that it was going to give something away, and then when it was just what had become kind of the obvious title, it was just a really strange, business move. But it's a fine title.
Yeah. Our last super chat is from Ag Studios. He says, if you had to make sequels to The Dark Knight Rises, how would you do it?
Wow, that's a great question. Like, would you do the Robin John Blake movie, or would you just, spin somebody off? Like, I think that could work. I really do, and a lot of people assumed that's what was going on. I never in a million years thought that movie would get made. But like, as much as I don't care for a lot of the choices in Rises, and as much as I don't like the Robin is his real name thing, I like Levitt well enough to see what his Batman would be like, and to see it could be really interesting to see him take up the mantle, but make it more of a Nightwing movie. And I was never convinced that he would straight up. Well, I was going to say I wasn't convinced that he would straight up put on the bat suit, but I guess the whole point was he had to be the symbol, so he would still have to be Batman. But it could be a Batman that was more of a Nightwing type character. There had been talk, and I don't know how true this is, that Nolan had briefly kicked around doing an Anne Hathaway spinoff and giving Catwoman her own film. And I also wouldn't have been opposed to that. I think that could have been really cool too. So I think there were places to go if you were really going to do it. I would have felt even weirder about Rises if that had been done, because Nolan was trying so hard to make a definitive ending so he didn't have to keep doing that franchise pretty clearly. Because that was the sense I always got, where it was like, let's cap it off, and he kind of forced it into a trilogy, and it never really felt like a true trilogy, especially because that clearly wasn't the plan in the first place. But yeah, like, I think there were things you could do. It would have been very strange to keep going, but both of those are okay movies. Do you have any other ideas?
No, I basically would just kind of model Levitt's character after Dick Grayson as Batman.
Yes.
Where he's still Nightwing, but he's having to play up more of a Batman-esque.
And I also, interestingly, could see Levitt as a guy who would want a partner and would take on his own Robin. And then it would be really funny to see a guy named Robin being Batman taking on a Robin.
I just love that. Like, no, the kid who's Batman, or no, the kid who is Robin, his last name is Bateman. No, that's too close to Batman. We got to give you a name. How about Robin? I think that would just be amazing. Yeah,
or he takes on a female partner, and we find out at the end, like the whole way through, she's got a different name, and then we find out at the end, it's funny. Somebody reads her name off a card, and they're like, Huntress. Guy named Huntress is a cool name. You should stop going around as Sandra and call yourself a Huntress.
My parents thought I was going to be a boy, so they named me Hunter, and they were really unimaginative when they found out I was a girl.
Dan Smith says Patrick Bateman was Batman.
Yeah, that's why I went to the Bateman.
Real quick, I want to read this comment. Nathaniel Darling says, hey, Captain Logan, I've always been a lurker and haven't watched for a while, but I just wanted to say I have always been a huge fan. Thanks, appreciate it. I just wanted to read your comment out loud because it might be the only one that you ever leave. And thanks for making your presence known, and thanks so much for watching. We sure appreciate it. Yeah, so anyway, do we have any other super chats? Anything else we've really got to tackle real quick? Madman, Jason Todd Bateman.
Jonathan Nazari says it's not that funny. So I find my sense of humor hysterical, but no one else does so.
No. You're really funny, Danny. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Thanks for humoring me. But no, I think that is every super chat. Let me scroll up and double check. But yeah, looks like we got everything.
Well, folks, thanks a ton for all the questions. We sure enjoyed it. Really fun, eclectic assortment of things this evening. We talked about everything from food to pets to accidentally mortuaries again. And we will see you again next Wednesday night at 8 Central for another one. And yeah, I think I am going to go with that idea that was thrown out earlier and do a Batman show next week. So it'll be all things Batman next time. Danny is always the right guy for that. So stick with us and come check it out next week. Tonight, we are not going to be doing Morphomania as we usually do right after this show because... And I announced it earlier today. I had every intention of shooting tonight with DJ, but apparently later on in the evening, it's going to cut it too close to when we usually would be finishing up that show. My internet provider is shutting down my internet to do maintenance and stuff, and I don't know. I can't be sure that'll be done in time, so we're not going to be shooting tonight. And also, we've got weather and stuff. I'm lucky that we haven't gotten this connection or the connection right now messed up. Yeah, Danny, it's -3 degrees here right now. It's real cold outside.
Yeah, I've heard that obviously the polar vortex is no joke. Some places are like -40, -50. I think, like in the U.S. It's
but it sounds like a great name for a comic book, though, doesn't it?
Polar vortex.
Polar vortex.
Trademarked. No.
Yeah, it's mine now. You can't have it. But anyway, so yeah. Brandon, and I don't know if this is true, Brandon told me the other day, they had Brandon on the channel in a while, we'll have to get him in for something, but Brandon the other day told me that I think today or tomorrow, 75% of the country was supposed to be below zero.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's nuts. I don't know if that's I don't, Dance News just put polar vortex in the trademark symbol. I don't know if that's a record or anything, but it's a lot.
It's 3/4 to seem average.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is. Come back next week to see Danny do basic math. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We sure appreciate it, and we will see you again.
That's 2.
We'll see you again next time. I am going to have, like I said, the Geek Solution Omnibus out as soon as humanly possible. I've got a couple of other random videos in the backlog that I'm going to post soon as well, and also Morphomania coming out every day. So check it out. And in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Danny.
Thanks a lot for watching, folks. See you later.